Hey everyone, thanks for joining. We're just going to give everyone a few more minutes to drop in and then we'll start very soon. Okay. Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining today. If you have been attending our previous sessions, this is the third episode in our series of Innovation at Work with AIA Vietnam. So first of all, again, a huge thank you to our partner AIA Vietnam for helping us organize these webinars. It's been a really great journey so far, and I'm very excited about today's topic. So a little bit about AIA Vietnam. So AIA Vietnam is a purpose-led organization where digitally minded and passionate self-starters gather to make an impact. At AIA Vietnam, they're currently undergoing a really exciting transformation. And to discover more about transformational organizations and about innovation in the workplace, we have partnered with AIA Vietnam on this series of 3 webinars where we're talking about innovation at work. The first episode, we talked about design. So how does workplace design support innovation and vice versa? And then in the second webinar, we talked about people and culture. And so now that we have design and people and culture firmly behind us today, we will be talking about technology. What is the role of technology in innovation? And what is the role of platforms and transformational cultural changes within that? So that's what we'll be talking about today. A little bit about, again, our partner, AIA Vietnam. Really grateful to be doing this with them. And especially as this is our last session, again, a huge thank you to them for supporting us on the last couple of sessions. We have Bill today from AIA Vietnam, so hopefully he can get us over the finish line and support us with a lot of really interesting insights. A little bit about us, if you don't know about Dreamplex yet. Dreamplex partners with leading organizations in Vietnam to create workplaces that attract, engage, and retain top talent. And since I have you today, I have to talk a little bit about how we deliver a better day at work for employees and how we're going to be doing that at 2 new locations this year that we're currently building. The first one is the office that we're building in District 2, very close to our location at Ngo Quang Huy, which we launched in January. And it's currently, besides, I think, 1 remaining office fully sold out. So very exciting to be adding a second location here in Thao Dien. And then secondly, the campus that we're building together with Refico in District 4, that will be the home of almost 1,700 people that will be working there every single day. So we have been thinking a lot about innovation and how does innovation play a role in, again, the design of the offices, in the culture that we create within them, but also what is the role of technology. So that's really the topic for today. And so I'm really excited to introduce you these amazing speakers, and because they have such impressive but also very long biographies, I'm going to be reading them from paper, so you have to excuse me. Starting with here on the left, and I think on your screen he will be probably somewhere in the middle, but Mr. Bill Nguyen, whose real name I think is Chung. Do I pronounce that correctly?
Trung.
Chung, okay, Quyen. There we go. There we go. You see, I knew I was going to butcher the Vietnamese names, but bear with me. So I will just say Bill, since that's easier for me, if that's okay.
That's okay.
Wonderful. Okay. So Bill is responsible for driving and developing digital initiatives. He leads the IT department and coordinates with other departments to develop a digital roadmap at AIA Vietnam. He has over 15 years of extensive experience working in the information technology industry across various fields, including, here we go, banking, games, that's fun, pharmaceutical, industrial, and telco. Before he joined AIA Vietnam, he was the chief technology officer and a member of the board of the management at GNT Global. And he holds a Master of Science in IT at the Conservatoire National des Arts et Métiers. So now I have not only butchered the Vietnamese, I've also butchered the French. I really hope there's not too many French people on the webinar. I should have said something like Conservatoire National des Arts et Métiers, you know, but I realized only halfway through that was a French name. Anywho, so that's Bill. Hello, Bill. Say hello to the audience.
Hi, guys. Nice. Mostly correct, then. Mostly correct.
I have to fill at some point. It would not be a webinar with me if there wasn't some mistakes. But you know, that's part of innovation, right? Making mistakes. Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
So then, second, we have Kelly. Also, a very easy name for me to pronounce. Kelly, I don't even know your real Vietnamese name. Is there a real Vietnamese name?
Yes, there is. I was born and raised in Vietnam, so there is one.
Okay, but we're not hearing it. So it's Kelly. Kelly Chan is the Chief Innovation Officer at Pizza for Peace. And if you wonder what is a Chief Innovation Officer, here we go. So Kelly at Pizza for Peace leads the innovation efforts in both the technology and in the people teams. So she oversees people, product, technical infrastructure, intelligence, and platform teams. She spent over a decade building widely used and widely loved consumer platforms and consumer products, servicing over, am I reading this correctly? Servicing over 4 million users?
Last time I checked.
Wow, impressive lineup again. Servicing over 4 million users, spanning weather tech, education tech, and enterprise applications. Most recently, she was the founder of a tech-focused venture builder company called Appable, with notable products such as Weather Radio, which won a Webby Award, School Connect, which was acquired by Justins, and last but not least, Ignite, which was acquired by Nike. Wow, impressive. Okay, if that wasn't impressive enough, I can also tell you, fun fact about Kelly, she holds fellowship and scholarships from the Tory Burch Foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Salesforce, and Google for her work in technology entrepreneurship and her passion for computer science education and solving for happiness. Okay, if there was ever a speaker to get excited about, the whole package is here. Say hello to the audience.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be speaking with Bill and Nguyen and learning a lot from everyone in the audience today. So thank you for having me.
I love it. Okay, and so then last but not least, the name that 100% I will mess up, especially when? Is it?
Yes, continue.
Okay, there you go. Okay, just waiting for the confirmation. Okay, so Quyen is the Chief Marketing and Operations Officer and a member of the leadership team of Microsoft Vietnam. In this position, she plays a crucial role to build the future for Microsoft Vietnam by leading a strong marketing and operations team in all marketing activities and the business operations to deliver performance while helping partners and customers unlock the economic opportunities of digital transformation. Wow. As a member of the leadership team, she's also an advocate, and she leads the company's diversity, inclusion, and allyship programs to improve company culture and bring social impact to the local community. She has been working at Microsoft Vietnam for more than 12 years, and in total, she has over 25 years of experience in business development, sales management, building partner ecosystems, and human resources. Unbelievable experience here on the call. Also, say hello to the audience, Quyen.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Yeah, and looking forward to a very exciting discussion with all of you.
So wonderful to have you, and so wonderful to have you all. I can say that. So we're going to dive into the webinar. And actually, before we ask any questions to the panel, I wanted to ask a question to our audience, and I'm going to launch a poll right now. And we want to hear from you when we're talking about innovation. What is more important, technology or people? So when we're talking about innovation, what is more important, technology or people? And you know, I'm seeing the votes roll in, and you know that the people on the call today all have experience in technology. Okay, what is important for innovation? Is it technology or people? The votes are coming in. We have most people have voted already. If you haven't yet, please put in your votes. Only the participants. Sorry, you're too biased. We cannot let you vote, Bill. Okay. Okay, so the votes are in. I'm going to share the results back, and here we can see a very drastic picture, which is that when we think about innovation and what is the most important, our attendees today say it's definitely people. 93% say people. So now this leads us very easily to our very first question. Is technology important in innovation? And what is the role of technology in innovation? I'm going to throw it to Bill first. What is the role of technology in innovation? Is it really less important than people?
Okay, let's say that I do agree with people on the pool because they answer the people side. I tend to agree, but from my point of view, you will not achieve any innovation or any things right now in this current period of digital transformation without even the technology part. It's part of a global about the organizational, the way you work, the technology, the enablement, the people, about the mindset and the capability itself. So it's a lot of different components in which is defining in three big component pillar. The first one is the infrastructure and the structure of the company. The second one is about the technology and how you enable the innovation and the people to work. And the lastly is the people capabilities and the mindset. That's how I resume it. Your two questions are technology and people is not that great. Already create some debate.
Then that means that the poll really did its work. You know, we wanted to get some controversy very early on. And so there you go. Okay, so I'm going to ask Kelly the same question. So Kelly, as we just heard at 4Ps, you actually lead both the technology and the people teams. How is that for you? Is technology more important? Are people more important? Is it a balance between the two? And how do you see the role of technology within innovation?
Maybe let me start first with sort of talk about or give my definition about the innovation business because we are here and to talk about technology innovation. But for me, the technology business is fundamentally the innovation business. And the word technology means a better way of doing things, right? So as a result, innovation is the core competency for, I would say, not only technology companies, but all the companies that looking to digitally transform themselves. And so nowadays you have, like insurance company, banks, or an F&B company like Pizza 4Ps that are transforming ourselves into technology companies in one way or another. So, we technology companies or, corporation like ours are born because we create a better way of doing things, providing better services and better products. Now, who's going to be the receiving ends of those better services and better products? Maybe it's just because of my background, my experience. I tend to be a very people-oriented person. So I would say that technology or innovation is the hardest competency to build in a business. However, without the people and without really building technology that delight the users or the people and the people side of things, then you don't have technology or you don't have innovation. So it's part of my sort of DNA as a technologist that I wholeheartedly believe in, building tech products that, even if I can only get 10 people to love it, and eventually scale it to maybe like, you know, some of my products at millions of users, but all started with just very few, like less than 10, and really
less than 10.
Yeah, really.
But I'm seeing here, Kelly, honestly, I'm seeing here already, you know, I see that you straddle kind of between technology and people. You don't want to offend one team. You don't want to offend one group. Oh, we need the technology to delight the people, but without people, there's no technology. Yeah. Very political. Okay. I think we have to go to Quyen and ask Quyen, for you, technology, people, what is the role? How do they connect? What is important for you?
Okay, so I am from a tech company, okay? No doubt, right? I have to say that technology is the starting point and is an enabler, right? But people is the driving force behind every aspect of technology, right? So investing in technology does have a very clear role in enabling individuals, teams, right? And however, purchasing technology alone should not leave the impression that innovations will follow, right? So I think it needs to be a balanced thing, right? And to me, I think that it requires people, requires the right technology, and we need a work environment that open to drive change, right? It's also very important. Yeah.
Oh, okay, Quyen, I got it. So you definitely came from the technology company perspective. However, you still acknowledge that, you know, there may be technology as an enabler, but then if there's no people to work with that technology, you still cannot get to innovation. So technology alone cannot create innovation. Both sides are necessary. So I kind of want to bring it back to Bill now and ask you, you know, as someone who's overseeing, for example, the IT team at AIA Vietnam, you know, how are you using technology as an enabler for innovation?
Okay, so I joined IA. So back a little bit back from some times ago. So I joined IA now around 5 years. Since I joined, the journey into the transformation itself and the innovation start with by just enabling people to work in the mobility environment. So the first things is what we did is changing people from desktop to laptops. First things. Second point, make sure that we have wireless, where people are not sitting at their desk but work together much more closer and more connected. The connectivity is again coming back to the platform and how we can use the platform to communicate, especially right now, as you can see over the last since 2021 and the COVID happening. Most likely, if we don't have the platform to work with and the partner to support us, in your case, Microsoft Teams, in which we are working on nearly 100% of our times, then it will be much more complicated to have innovation. This is the first part of how I say that the enablement of the infrastructure, the hardware, the software, the wireless things. The meeting rooms are wireless and people can work much more freely. The second one is around the way we build or platform around the data to make sure that people are reliable on data to make decisions. It's something that drives innovation. Yeah, most of the time people say that we need to innovate. Sometimes I say innovation starts with doing things better than the day before. Sometimes it's start more. Don't think too big. Start small, and then data is really helping us to in this sense. And lastly, the technology side. Again, technology is just an element, an enabler of the innovation. The way that you work is something that's fundamental. The way you work together, the way you use technology to make sure that you will deliver innovation. Make sure that it's helping you.
I heard something really interesting there. I mean, there's a couple of like really good things there. I heard something really interesting there, which kind of, I just would have forgotten about it maybe because I've been walking around with a laptop for 10 years now and I just don't know any different. But you're talking about the fact that how can a company be innovative and promote collaboration between teams and promote kind of like cross-pollination if everyone is tied to their desk with a big desktop computer? So you're saying the first step is to actually free the people, which means that you have to invest in laptops, you have to invest in the wireless that's good enough to also sit in the non-desk areas. So maybe can you share a little bit, because obviously there will be people on the call from different organizations who are at different stages of their transformation towards maybe a more digital, more innovative organization. When you started that project of mobility, were there any kind of barriers? Were there any hesitations from other stakeholders in the organization?
A lot.
Well, do we really need to pay for everyone a laptop? Can we just do it to these 10 people or these 5 people?
Yes, exactly what you mentioned. So since I joined, the first things that I was so like yourself, I work with laptops and I work with wireless being mobile over my last 20 years. So for me, coming to IA was a big shock for me to come in and say, oh, why are people still sitting at their desk? Why we have and I was so surprised, that the way we organize ourselves is only manager. So people recognize being manager is something that people have a laptop. So I say, oh, manager is the one only mobile. Then how come you restrict yourself into this kind of organization? So the first things that I did is to make sure that we convince people. And again, it was not an easy task, because when you want to refresh more than 1,000 people into the laptop, is something that costs a lot in terms of budget. Need to have planification. Need to make sure that we convince the finance side, capex and opex investment. Make sure that it makes sense. And most of the important things is convincing people that there is benefit behind all of these things. So there is an investment, but the most important thing is there's benefits, and people should see benefits as it starts. Not doing bigger things like, for example, we didn't deploy 1,000 laptops at the start. We deploy 100 of them, and then 100 of them, and then 100 of them, to make sure that, hey, we need to enable these people, but make sure that these people are the one that use the most of this technology and things that you put in place, to make sure that they are the ambassador for you to go back, and because people will see that, hey, why this person has laptop and not me? So we see people coming to us and say, hey, Bill, I want a laptop. I say, yes, why? And then they start to think that I need this because of blah, blah, blah. And then it's create, an emulation inside the company where people want to do much more things and not sitting at their desk anymore.
I could totally see Bill sitting in an office, even though I know AIA office doesn't have that many offices, but I could see him sitting in an office with a line outside the door, all asking him for a laptop. Hey, why does that girl have a laptop? Where's my laptop? And then Bill has to sit there like, oh no, now I have to convince for more money.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. What a journey. I think Karsten made a good comment in the chat as well that, maybe there's many other people who are kind of like used to, like carrying around a laptop for a long time is quite normal, but maybe for larger companies, that was really a big kind of question. Like, do we give everyone a laptop? I remember when I worked at Ogilvy back in New York, they were really thinking through, should everyone have a smartphone? Is it really necessary for everyone to be able to do their work on the go? And now obviously, like, would any company say, oh no, just work whenever you sit at a desk when you're plugged into an Ethernet port, right? Of course, like mobility has to be for everyone. And I think, maybe it's now more becoming the norm, as Karsten from Asia PMO pointed out. But obviously that was a big transformation. It has to be driven by someone. In this case, that was your role. But I heard you say something that I have to pick up and throw it to Quyen, because you mentioned Teams. You mentioned Microsoft Teams. So of course, we're talking about the hardware side of innovation and technology. Now let's talk about the platform side, the software side, right? So just the fact that everyone can work on their mobile phone or that they can go through the office with their laptop doesn't necessarily mean that they can collaborate with people somewhere else in the office, or maybe even in another office, like AIA Vietnam has many offices, or the people who are working from home, or a kind of like a third space. So maybe Quyen, can you talk a little bit about how the use of platforms also has enabled people to innovate and collaborate more?
Yeah, we can say that the market is getting more and more used to working online, and recently people say that it's because of COVID-19 pandemic, right? But and people say that because we have to work from home, so now people work online, right? And that's we work online, but before that, I can say that we see people travel a lot, so they need to have collaboration and work effectively on the go, right? And that's a need. And so technology actually can have enable flexibility without sacrificing security, enable people to work anytime, anywhere, and on any device, right? And so people now, you mentioned that you have you can have a workstation at office, or you can have your laptop. Some people even have 2 mobile phones, right? And people can work on mobile phone. I work at home on my home computer. So people need to have to be connected and to be able to work effectively anytime and anywhere. So for Microsoft, we have Microsoft 365 is a productivity suite that enable you to be able to work effectively anytime, anywhere, and like that. And Bill mentioned about Microsoft Teams. Actually, it helps virtual meetings, online collaborations. It is integrated with applications, third-party applications, first-party applications to help people collaborate effectively on projects, right? And besides that, for complicated applications and data access, Microsoft has the Microsoft Virtual Desktop could facilitate that that situation perfectly. So all in all, technology, and with Microsoft is Microsoft Teams, Microsoft Office 365, the Agile services will have enterprises collaborate remotely, effectively, and securely. Yeah, that's what I can say.
I think Dan is frozen. We can just
we lost the host.
about him. It's the Wi-Fi.
Can we start the host now?
It's the Wi-Fi. What do we do now?
I'm not managing Dreamplex 1.
Oh my God. So maybe I'll take over as the facilitator, I guess. Anyone on the call that have any questions for us while we wait for the facilitator to return?
So we have one question in Q&A.
Yeah, I saw that it was okay. There's another question. How do you increase collaboration in your workplace? Any tips, Bill?
You go ahead. You are the only one who didn't speak.
Facilitator now. Okay, so how do we increase collaboration in the workplace at Pizza for Peace? So actually at 4Ps, I shared that this a little while ago too. We actually structure our innovation team in terms of different product pillars, and one of them is actually workplace technology. So I think you're asking specifically about tools, space design, the space design, maybe interior design, if I understand that correctly, but maybe I can speak more about tools. So we use Workplace by Facebook as our internal social network, but I know there's a lot of other tools out there too, such as Slack. This week I attended the Slack Frontier conference. There's a lot of ways that, did you attend to, Bill?
No, I didn't attend to all of this. We are so committed with Microsoft, so I can't use it.
So one of my recommendations for Carl on the QA list here is if you want to check out the Slack Frontiers, and I would. There's a lot of really good resources there for you to learn more about to increase collaboration in workplace, and then it's back.
It's back.
Sending
guy-
back the whole.
For the show, then how's that?
I hope you guys moderated yourself well. I hope it was a good continued discussion, even
No, we had fun,
without the host.
but we were ready for you to get back.
Okay. So yeah, it wouldn't be you know, a technology discussion without my internet dropping, but here we are. So I think we heard some really interesting, at least before I dropped off, we heard some really interesting facts about the hardware side, the technology side, giving people laptops, enabling mobility. And then we heard a little bit from Quyen about the collaboration side, how you have to be connected. So actually, I'm going to launch another poll, and I want to hear from you. Maybe it's going to be another like really kind of controversial one, but I want to hear from you. What is more important for innovation after hearing these two arguments? Is it the hardware or the software? And in this case, because we want to be gentle, we will also give you the option both. Okay, here we go. Poll is coming up. So what is more important for innovation? Is it hardware? Is it software? Or is it both? Let's see if we can get some more controversial answers. That would be wonderful. Kelly, do you want to take a guess?
Software is eating the world. So software is my vote. Bill, do not agree. It's okay. We need diversity on the team.
I'm already surprised that you don't say it's neither. It's really the people.
Yes.
And my answer for you will be neither of them.
Oh, we should have included a fourth option, neither. Okay. Well, the votes have come in, so let me share the results here and see what people are saying. So, okay, a little bit more divided at least, but there's definitely no one in the world, or at least in this little universe today, that believes that it's just hardware. Most people think it's both, but there are quite a few votes that say software is more important. Bill is shaking his head. It's like, no way. Bill.
Software clang is starting.
I love it. Okay. So I want to throw it over to Kelly, and Kelly, you know, I'm really interested again, you know, from an organizational perspective, because I think we really want to talk about innovation from the perspective of how can organizations become innovative, or, you know, how can they unlock their innovation. So you're actually running an actual innovation team within a company. Most companies don't have that. Most companies don't have a chief innovation officer. So what was the journey for 4Ps to, first of all, decide to bring in or create a chief innovation officer? And then what was that journey to build the team within the organization? What were the easy things? What were the hard things? Yeah, really interested to hear a little bit about your role and how all of that kind of like got started.
Wow, that's a big question, and I only have a few minutes, and I'm throw it at Bill. It's time to build. Okay, so but really for 4Ps, it was time to build. Of course, my background, I'm a builder all my life, so that's why I believe in software is eating the world, and I really believe in building the technology that, you know, solve certain business problems or create certain kind of competitive advantages for the business. And really the challenge happened, and the opportunity here was that, you know, when the pandemic happened, and 4Ps was traditionally, we were the best at dining services. But what happened when you have to shut down all of your restaurants? What do you do then to keep, you know, the people at work, to keep the business going, and to, of course, invest for the future? Because you know, you survive or you die. That's one way to think about it. Or how do you reposition, how do you change for growth, for a different type of future, right? So so at the time, some of, you know, some of the long-term thinking was there, but the short-term pressure is, what can we do in the time where all of our restaurants are closed? So the answer to that is, of course, e-commerce and delivery business. And, you know, 4Ps for 10 years have been around in Vietnam. Millions of people love it, but we never done delivery. So
Kelly, can I jump in just because, not because it's too long, I'm actually very interested in the whole journey, but
Yeah.
I spoke to some of your other team yesterday, the people who are on the side of developing new stores and new concepts. Can you maybe speak a little bit to why you hadn't done delivery before COVID forced you to do delivery?
I think um, my answer to that would be the focus on really getting the best products and the services. And sometimes, 10 years has passed and you just realize that, wow, we've been really, really good at this, but how do you diversify? How do you change? Until, so I think for many of the organizations, they can think of the pandemic as an unfortunate thing that happened, but many also see it as a blessing because the organization really won't come together. The workforce won't come together unless this kind of crisis happened. And that's really what happened at 4Ps too. We were really good at one thing and we really focused on triple down on the one thing that we were really good at until we are forced to consider other options. Otherwise we die. So at that time, we make the decision and then we really focus on what the customers are telling us to. And today, the delivery business actually has evolved a lot from last March when we launched it. So now we have like offline model of our store, which we call delivery hubs. And then we are creating new products that are just for online business, digital businesses too. In addition to the pizza and the craft pasta that you get in the store in our restaurant. So I think today we're looking at a very ambitious vision of 4Ps was the best at dining experience. Now can we or how do we become the best at home experience?
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so now we have to go back a little bit to, so you're a chief innovation officer. What does that mean? And what was kind of like the journey to get your team there, right? Because you're both on the technology and the people side. So like, what was it like to develop that kind of like function within an organization? Let's say if there are people on this webinar today that would love to bring an innovation team or an innovation leader into the company.
Yeah, so earlier I talked about, how like the word technology means a better way of doing things, and how innovation is the hardest core competency to create at any company. So, like eventually, someone else will come up with a better way than yours to do something or to service the same segment of customers. So if my company ceases to innovate, it will die. So my job is to make sure Pizza 4Ps do not stop to innovate. And really innovations, so you ask me, what do I do? Really, and I fundamentally, I believe that innovations are product cycles. So it's how do we become really good at finding out opportunities to introduce products. And products here could be, our delivery system, our e-commerce system, our red invoice is one of the things that we just kind of accidentally stumble upon that and become a product that widely loved by a lot of users. So all of those things are what we call products. And my main job at Pizza 4P is to make sure that I build a team and build the innovation culture so that this team never stop finding opportunities to serve customer through this product thinking mindset.
Wow. I think that when we were talking about innovation earlier, I don't think anyone would have thought about hearing the term red invoices in our conversation. So I really love that one. That was a very unexpected one to hear, but you're totally right. Like if you can innovate with that, if you can find a better way to do that, that probably takes a lot of time off of people's hands that they then can use for servicing people and delivering that wow that I think 4Ps is famous for. So I saw Bill nodding pretty much throughout your entire conversation, which was very interesting.
Just a little bit different. My point of view of innovation is not about product. It's a little bit different. So I have two ways. When people ask me about innovation, what does it mean for me? For me, it's about two things. The first one is about challenging the status quo. It means that every day that you come to the work, make sure that, hey, what I'm doing is good enough? Can we do it better? And it's not only responsibility of the one who has, the tag innovation. It's about around everyone. Make sure that innovation starts within yourself, because you are the one. Like, for example, the red invoice is the really typical example. We have the same issue of the not red invoice, but in reality, it's the same situation. But in reality, I will never do red invoice because I will never know, because I'm not concerned by red invoice. But the one who work on the finance team who do the invoice, they will say, hey, there's a law that's coming up, and then we need to build up the red invoice for digitally, and we need to incorporate it for the business. And then they will come say, hey, now what the way we work in manual way is not working. So you see, innovation start with small things, and it start with people that are working on their own field. They are expert in their own field, but they are challenging the status quo. That's the most important thing. And the second one is around the people side, where I say, hey, what I want is when I come tomorrow, I will be a better version of me. So this means that I achieved something yesterday. Tomorrow, I will do something else. And day by day, it's keep improving. That's why I always try to make things simple for my team. So when people ask me about innovation, say, hey, don't think too big. Just do better every day, and you will be fine. You will be fine. It's not something crazy. You are not here to create smartphone and iPhone.
But Bill, this is so good, because I think this is a theme that keeps coming back. Like, no matter how we individually maybe see innovation, we keep coming back to that same theme of, for the innovation experts that we've been interviewing over the past weeks, including yourselves today, everyone keeps coming back to that idea of these can be small things. It doesn't have to be big projects, big initiatives. We don't have to invent the iPhone. If we can find a better way to do something that we do frequently, or a common pain point for a customer, or for someone who's dining in the restaurant, that is innovation. And that is really what we should be focusing on. And that keyword better is also coming back. So there's a question from the audience here. Cal Ina is asking, do you use any kind of methodology, like design thinking or any other kind of method, to come up with new ideas or innovations? What are other methods to facilitate innovation? So I'll just throw it out there for anyone who wants to jump in and kind of like share their thoughts.
Kelly first, lady first.
It's time to build. I'm just kidding. That's gonna be the tagline between you.
Okay, no problem.
So design thinking, definitely. I think that's just a very broad term to describe, some of the best practices at different companies. But I want to share one. This is something along the line what Bill is saying too. Like, how do we discover opportunity for those small changes that make a really big impact? And I think it all starts with your customers. So at 4Ps, during our we have very long but fun product meeting, because it's also around customer, and we have this method of we ask the questions of how do we scale a 10-star customer experience, wow experience is our term internally. So it's easy for us to get a feedback, get a rating from customer, and on the scale that you see is 5-star. But every time that we get those rating in, and at 4Ps on a daily average, we get over 5,000 pieces of feedback from customers. So we really, really do take advantage of them. So we look at the one that's 1-star, and we interview them. How do we get it to 2-star? How do we get it to 3-star? How do we get it to 5-star? And then people think that's it. But no, we do not stop there. We stretch the limit and really engage our customer in the conversations of, what about 10-star? And that become, a lot of those conversations become the roadmap of how we build, what we build, things at Pizza 4P. So that is just one method that I would love to share here. I think it's really important in the age of innovation that we stay true to what our customer is telling us, to save the dollars on innovation budget, and but at the same time really deliver values for the people actually using it.
Fantastic methodology. I remember this is something that the Airbnb founders also shared, right? They were talking about when they were developing their sort of like, what could Airbnb like? They started with, well, typically when you travel, the 1-star experience is that you show up at a hotel and they check you in and you sleep there and that's it. And the 2-star experience would be if they do that and they're friendly. And a 3-star experience is that plus maybe they recommend you a good restaurant because you don't know. And they started thinking about what would be the 4-star experience, the 5-star experience. And then he said, why stop at 5-star, right? Let's go to 10 stars. So, you know, your whole point about, but it has to answer a customer need, right? Or an end user need. Otherwise, you're just wasting the dollars or the investment. And this is actually another question that came from the audience from Quyen, who is asking, with the increase of agile working in recent years, do we need to invest in office innovation? So maybe going back a little bit to technology and the office. And if so, then how do you decide what is worth it and what is not? So maybe that would be for time for a Bill.
Okay, we'll take this one. So for me, it's fundamental is to have the workspace, technology, the collaboration, and as mentioned, the 3 pillars. So you need to have the structure in here, meaning the infrastructure, the workspace, the organization itself. The second one is the way of working agile. Most people is talking about agile. Agile is a lot of different things. Design thinking is one, voice of the customer is one, but the most important concept here is how to bring value to the customer at the shortest time. That's the most important concept that should be around there. Agility should be resumed in this simple notion. So forget about design thinking, forget about everything. Just focus on how to get your MVP as soon as possible for the customer to solve one issue for them. So that's what we call. And the last piece is around the people. So yes, as design, so when we design the office, the digital transformation office, in which is the innovation equivalent to the innovation for our labs, I think from 4Ps, is we design it as a collaboration space. It means that everything is open. We have meeting room that is open and dedicated for agility working. So this means that people can have Post-it, and it's mandatory for them to have, example, Post-it to work with. I don't want them, so we have Miro, we have a lot of different tools, digital tools. But at the end of the day, I say, hey, sometimes digital tools is okay. You can have it when you work remotely. But if you are working together, use Post-it, most efficient one. And you know, when you work with Post-it and you try to write what you want, the first things that you are forced to is to simplify your thought. And that is the beauty, that's what I say. When you are restricted to write things, like example, in my case, you know, a Post-it, and you need to really simplify it because it's simple words. And that's, I say, that is something that is great innovation, because you force people into an environment where they are open, an environment where, as in the case of AA, is we empower people to take decisions. It means that everyone is empowered to take the decision within a framework. So we build the framework for them, but they are empowered to do everything. And that is how we create collaboration, how we make sure that people are really working on at the same target, in the same direction, to solve minor issue or bigger issue, depending on the case.
Bill,
but
you have to answer one question honestly. Did you have those Post-its ready just because you knew we were talking about innovation, you wanted to make a point, or were they always on your desk?
No, if I cannot show you the other side of my room, but there's always Post-it, and I even have bigger Post-it where all of the projects. That's and different colors, even different colors.
Amazing, amazing. I know that we have someone from the Doodle Brands team on as well, and I remember seeing their old office in Dreamplex, Nguyen. They always had the whole wall and all the windows decorated with Post-its. Doodle away, yeah, we love it, we love it. Okay, so we're almost at the.
Innovation. So that's why I need one innovation. It's how you get Post-it on the glass without them falling down. This is the I want to challenge the guys that create Post-it now.
Okay, so for anyone on the call who is kind of like waiting for that juicy innovation challenge, here you go. What is this, Kelly?
The table Post-it. It will not fall from the glass. You just need to hang it from the wall, from the ceiling. Can you see it, Bill?
Yes.
There you go.
Wow, that is incredible. Okay, so we have we now have the answer to that question also. I love it. Okay, so we're almost at the end of our hour. I see there's still a couple of questions coming in, but I want to make sure that we end on a very practical note. So I actually want to ask each one of you, starting with Quyen, who we haven't heard too much. What is maybe one practical tip that you can give to companies who want to become more innovative through technology? Maybe what is one practical tip you could give them? And Quyen, of course, I can already predict your answer, which is buy the entire Office 365 suite, get your subscriptions live, maybe that and something beyond.
Yeah. So so when we think of technology, right? I want to people to kind of thinking about the 4 technology trends that people are facing today. So the first one is mobility. Everyone is using mobile, and some is 2, some are 3, right? And second technology trend is social, right? The third one is cloud, right? Moving to cloud is a term that people use a lot these days, right? And the fourth one is big data. And with big data, we are talking about AI, machine learning, all those things, IoTs, so that we can use data in a much better way, right? So I think that if we think about innovation with technology, how technology can help you, maybe a bit more complicated, right? So let's maybe start from these things, think about these things, these 4 technology trends, and all the disruptive, disruption, innovations these days. All the big companies starts with these 4 technology trends.
Okay, so I asked you for one practical tip,
yep.
And now we have 4 practical tips. So that is clearly very innovative and very good for us. I'm going to ask Kelly the same question. Any tangible practical tip besides hanging post-its from the ceiling for companies who want to go on their innovation journey through technology?
I think this tip will be about people. And I would say that the hardest thing to do is to be crystal clear about what you want. If you want to start innovation, please do not go to sleep until you have a clear vision and objective about what you want in a, maybe like 3, 6, and to 12 months at most. Like, I actually don't go beyond 9 months, but unless you are very clear about that, you will struggle with building teams. You will struggle with defending, why you do what you do with other key stakeholders. So that's the one thing that I find a lot of, I fail often at that, and many of people in my network, when we talk about innovations that go wrong, is always about we do not have a crystal clear picture of what we want.
Okay, so I have to start with knowing what you want to do. That's great. So now it's time for Bill with the closing thoughts ahead of his 5:30 meeting. So tell us, Bill, technology-wise, where should people start? What should they do?
No, I think that I do agree with Quyen and Clee about the sharing. What they say is for me is fundamental. But when you come to fundamental, it's about the innovation itself cannot be started if it's not embedded as a culture or as a strategic of the company. As I mentioned, innovation can start from bottom up, but when it's come to initiation, it's always top to bottom. It's always the case because we ignited. We are the one responsible for it. So as part of IA, and when I was coming in over the last 5 years, that's why the journey start to transform. And until at the last 2 years, we are making sure that the agility, the transformation is part of a strategic and key pillars in the deliveries of the strategy and the business outcome. So that's why I say everything's when either you are start small or big, whatever it is, it should be from the top to make sure that is this a clear line. And then as Kelly mentioned, always make sure that it's clear because this is fundamental. But for me, it should be start with the strategic of the company. this vision, if it's clear, then the execution part at least has something to deliver on and based on to make sure that we have the framework. That's how I see things.
And so you, in your role, you've obviously have, you know, a say, or maybe you're leading kind of like the charge when it comes to using technology, right? So you are starting from the top. Are there any specific kind of, you know, pilots or experiments or innovations that you've done, you know, by the use of technology beyond handing out laptops that were particularly successful for the organization?
Yeah, so okay, back to the story again. So when I joined, everything that we use are still using on-prem server. So the first things that we did instead of changing the structure, so part of the structure of the organization IT team is not the silo one where everyone is different department. We work I rename it as a service delivery. This means that we are part of a service delivery model in which we serve different customer, either external customer or internal customer. So for us, there were the Salesforce, the customer itself, and then the internal users that we have. So this is the first fundamental in terms of changing the organizational part. The second one, foundation. It means changing the structure that we have instead of delivering the hardware, etc. is one thing. But in the case of the transformation itself, we go from server to serverless. We move everything from the cloud. So IA Vietnam is part of the is on the bigger side, the first country over the IA group. So there's 18 countries. IA Vietnam have right now around 80% of their compute and their services on the cloud. And we are the one leading it. So the target for the group is only having 90% over the 2023. So over the next 3 years, but IA Vietnam in your case, we are nearly there. So at the end of this year, we will be more than 90%. First things. Second point is you need to drive, you start innovation or you want to drive innovation is about making sure that you are using the last technology. So fighting again, end of life. So that's why I say sometimes people think that you need to do crazy things. I start with simple things. So make sure that we are not depending on the hardware side. Make sure in terms of software, we are having some things that it not restrict us to do innovation. So that is my key fundamental in terms of, if you go back to your story about hardware and software, this is how we did for IA Vietnam.
I love it. I think it's both inspiring and I think very practical to actually think about, if we want our people to innovate, what could potentially stand in the way, what could potentially be a block, and you just remove it. But if you don't do that, then you may end up kind of like getting into an endless cycle of like, wow, why are we not innovating? Well, there's this and this. So you're basically saying identify those things and make sure nothing stands in the way for people to constantly improve. Okay. Yep. So now at the end of the hour, a really huge thank you to, again, AIA Vietnam for helping us co-organize this series. We've been talking to so many interesting people, interesting viewpoints on innovation from the workplace, from the people and culture, and now from the technology perspective. And I think the common theme again that we've heard is really all about innovation doesn't have to be big. Innovation really is just about making things better every single day. It can start very small, but it is important for it to be driven from the top. For all the company leaders and all the HR leaders on the webinar today, someone has to take the initiative to say, this is something we want to get behind. And to Bill's very last point, what are the potential kind of roadblocks that could potentially stand in the way, and how can we remove those? So really wonderful to have you on the call today. Thank you so much to Bill and Kelly and Quyen for joining. Thank you everyone also for joining, especially those who I saw repeatedly on the different webinars, including Simone. Really great to have you here. We have obviously other webinars coming up that you'll see in the recap email tomorrow, but this is the final one for the sessions with AIA Vietnam. So again, thank you so much everyone for joining. Thank you to the panel today and hope to see you very soon. And especially during this time, please stay safe and healthy. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Dreamplex. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.